How often do you question whether a food is safe before you eat it?
Do you consider what laws regulate the production of your food?
Do you ever think about how your food gets from where it is grown to where it is marketed?
Can you recognize the signs of food poisoning?
Today we're going to talk about how your food reaches your table safely.
Stick around to learn about the precautions taken during each step of the food process.
So I came here to talk a little bit about how food safety affects food growth and production. So there are a lot of factors that contribute to food safety, and how food is grown is one of the most important aspects. So production means growing the plants that we harvest and raising the animals we use for food. Most food comes from domesticated animals, and their production occurs on farms and large ranches, large crop fields, etc. So production is the part that happens on the fields in the ranch, growing the food and growing the animals. We do technically grow animals. So some foods are caught or harvested from the wild, such as fish, mushroom, and game. So those are the stuff that aren't grown purposely on a field. Okay, so why is this important? Contamination can occur during this production process because we are grouping large amounts of animals together as well as large amounts of plants. Most people don't think of plants as living creatures, but they are. They can contract diseases, etc. So example, when we spray the fields with like anti-pest spray and stuff like that, that can contaminate our food. That is not safe for the human to consume. And then another example of this can be seen in the recent E. coli outbreaks. Chipotle has had 2 recent E. coli outbreaks in the past few years, and in the first outbreak, 55 people were infected by the foodborne illness in 11 states, of which 21 people were hospitalized. In the second outbreak, the E. coli stemmed from the romaine lettuce. Although the E. coli scare expanded much further than Chipotle, the CDC warned that if you can't find the growing region, don't eat it, throw it away. So anytime there's a breakout like E. coli, which is one of the most common one during the food growth process, the CDC takes control and tells people where to eat, what not to eat, what restaurants have harvested from, because usually it's from one specific farmer that a lot of restaurants get their lettuce from. So one crop farmer can send out the same crop to multiple different restaurants, so it's not only one restaurant chain. So the CDC has documents on this and will notify consumers. So that's a bit about the food growth and production, how safety is put into that. There are a lot of precautions put in place to avoid contaminants such as pest control and disease within animals.
Hi, my name is Donna, and I'm here today to talk about the processing and regulation of our food. So processing is changing plants or animals into what we recognize and buy today as food. It involves different steps for the different kinds of foods that we eat. In 1963, the CAC has produced 223 food safety standards, 78 food safety guidelines, and 53 food safety codes of practice. The FDA also regulates all food and food ingredients introduced into or offered for sale in interstate commerce, with the exception of meat, poultry, and eggs and milk that are instead regulated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It is very important that food processing places are clean so that we avoid contamination. If germs contaminate the surfaces that are used for food processing, such as a processing line or storage bins, germs can spread to foods that touch those surfaces. It is important that when processing food, the employees wash their hands and maintain that their utensils are clean as they distribute the food for processing.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I'm here to talk about distribution and preparation. So distribution is getting the food from the farm or processing plant to the consumer or food service, like a restaurant, cafeteria, supermarket, etc. There's lots of room for contamination during distribution. One of these is how far the food travels, because it's where it's grown to the market, it could travel a really long distance. A longer distance, that increases the risk for spoilage as well as opportunities for pathogens to come in contact with the goods. Additionally, if refrigerated food is left on the loading dock for too long in warm weather, it could react. Temperatures allow bacteria to grow. After distribution, the food that has been distributed is then prepped, which is how the food gets ready to be eaten. This may occur in the kitchen of a restaurant, at a home, or any other location. Contamination can also occur during preparation. For example, if a cook uses a cutting board or a knife to cut raw chicken and then uses the same knife or cutting board without washing it to slice tomatoes, the tomatoes are then contaminated by the germs from the uncooked chicken. The same goes for prepping food in your own homes, in your kitchens, for your families. After you use a cutting board or any other utensil when you're using raw meat, it's important that you get a new one or wash it so the whole meal doesn't become contaminated. So that's a little bit about distribution and preparation.
Hi, I'm here with Megan, who's going to give us a first-hand perspective on food preparation. She's a waitress at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
So when you're working, what kind of safety, health regulations do you have to follow when dealing with the food?
When delivering food, I can't touch the food, I can only touch the plate, and when cleaning off plates, I have to wash my hands after, and stuff like that.
Do you work closely with the chefs? Are you familiar with what they do?
Yeah, they wash their hands routinely throughout the day, and they make sure that they're keeping themselves clean while working with the food.
Do you believe that your restaurant or most restaurants in general follow food safety regulations?
I think that all restaurants could do a little bit better at it, but I think where I work, they do a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're here to talk about food poisoning. So when regulations are not followed and contamination occurs, food poisoning is the result. So an example is mad cow disease, which is a bacterial threat to the livestock population. Mad cow disease is a slowly progressing and degenerative and fatal disease that affects the central nervous system of adult cattle, and it can be passed on to humans. Researchers believe that the infection agent that causes mad cow disease is an abnormal version of a protein that is normally found on cell surfaces called a prion. This protein becomes altered and destroys nervous system tissue, which is the brain.
So just like how I talked about E. coli earlier, there are 3 really common food poisonings, which are E. coli, salmonella, and mad cow disease. So a human version of mad cow disease is believed to be caused by eating beef products contaminated with central nervous system tissue from cattle infected with mad cow disease. So this is why the USDA requires all brain and spinal cord tissues need to be removed from high-risk cattle. High-risk cattle is considered older cattle, animals that are unable to walk, and any animals that shows any signs of neurological issues. When an outbreak is discovered, those animals infected are killed immediately to control the spread of virus. So far, there have been 4 deaths that have been identified in the U.S. due to mad cow disease. Common symptoms of foodborne diseases are nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps, diarrhea, etc. And that goes for mad cow disease, E. coli, salmonella, any type of food poisoning, all cause the same irritation in indigestion. So symptoms may differ between the different types of foodborne illnesses, and pregnant women, young children, and older adults are more likely to develop a food illness. So watch out for all these safety regulations that we all talked about through all the processes in the food processing chain. So make sure you look out for, especially you can control most of your food preparation and keeping yourself clean and your food clean so you don't get food poisoning.
Yeah. No,
The second time was undercooked salmon. Still wasn't too happy about that.
Thumbs up.